다 탐제기 안에 선바 전주초도 쌤게네 단에 담배추 예로나스 암조 상상체 암조 상상체 아사체 자 선바 전주초도 쌤게네 담배추 yes
His Eminence would like to first remind everyone to arouse the proper mind, attitude, which is the mind of awakening, and with the mindfulness of such mind, then hearing the teachings.
드네 사회게 다 나랑 속에 다 가서 오래 담배추 드네 상기기 타르바다 탐지kimbe 공방 드네 주버 제바티 드네 조 강을했으나 드네 나랑 소다 사회게 드네 랑니기 드네 내갑당 아니 타르토기 직밤 동알레 조어체바 직당 되는 디마체베게 아니 텔라테네 되네 신 바로 번로와 심제 탐제 라 되네 펜바 야쳔보 되네 줍누바 내갑다 타르토기 되네 펜바 야쳔보 줍누바티 땅아란소 가서 오래 담비슈 줍베기 암 산지그 공방 줍베기 다 제분다버티 돈단다버티 티레스 대인도 때네 대답이 때네 제바티 동알 시월 제바 당 라니 동알 시월 제바다 셴라 펜보 자쳔부티 디 다가스 전에 베나 랑신을 때는 용거 베나 줄라 마트바 랑신을 때는 용거를 베스는 용투고 말레스 대인도 아니 대 베나 라니 동알레 초르느바당 근데 바로 벌 셴라 펜바 자쳔부 줍느베게 느바 암 주지고 요레스 틱 하네스나 땅가라도 가자시야 대월식베게 닝부티게 고레스
The reason or the purpose for the practice of the Dharma in general and
탐지킴베 공방 줘봤어야 돼.
the reason for working towards experiencing liberation or establishing ourselves to the state of all-knowing or Buddhahood is to become totally free from the experience of sufferings. Whatever sufferings we are experiencing, to become free from the experience of sufferings, as well as to become free from the cause or causes of sufferings. And furthermore, what it means to become endowed with the wisdom of all-knowing is to become endowed with abilities to benefit, to help benefit others, become free from sufferings, from causes of suffering. And so, for these purposes or these twofold benefit, becoming free of sufferings and the causes of sufferings oneself, and to be able to extend the highest benefit towards others, one is involved with the practice of the Dharma. And simply having an interest in freedom from suffering and interest in becoming endowed with abilities to benefit alone is not enough. Simply having an interest or wish, there is no naturally evolving to the extent one becomes free of whatever limitations and endowed with all the beneficial qualities. So, application of the path of the Dharma is essential. And in order for us to thus confidently engage in the practice of the Dharma, then we have to first have confidence in ourselves, or recognition that we have the ability or the capability to become free from sufferings, whatever conditionings of limitation, that we have the power or the capability to become endowed with beneficial activities. And so this is again what we have been talking about, that recognition of Buddha nature, that through our having this inherent potential that we can actually, that is how we are capable of becoming free from sufferings and becoming endowed with, or the unfolding of potential, so that we can extend benefit towards others.
Tindesre, tene, te indu, te sonza, tene ta pena tsaweke, katane, pena tanda pardola, ta pena kazan, tanda pardola, tsaweke ta ngaran tsuki, sheya de ningbo de kanresena, te tabuki, pena ngaran tsu sanjike kombaam, shen parobola, tene rani dungale chor nubada, shen parobola, tene pemba drup nubege, nubam, gyuti, tene pena ngaran cho la, tene gyuti yobala tene, tene tedabuki sanji ki komba drup nuba tang, shen la pemba drup nu manu ki, pena 토네 다 독밤 태좀 좋아요 여러분 되게 탈렌데바다 간지 러니게 베나티 냠수 렌토바 이나티 뉴바도 주도 뉴바도 무슨 소바도 소수라나 유바 템바 대월시고 닝보 유바 템바레스다 단다 가자샤 다 다른 게 값으로 간시야 레스나 예나양 다티 예나양 티 단다 응원도 줄을 마주르게 깨져지요 레스 대인도 드네 대라 베나가란 존장군로도 타에게 단단 알아서 착제 챔부게 당고 단다 디나라 숭반나 시리 시 착제 챔부 세르잖아 내룩당 출룩 니수다스 전에 부지단 신무비 코랑게 내룩 제당 되네 델라 출베게 되네 내룩의 출룩 니수송요레스 하고송아 니수송요레 되네 대인도 대답하게 내룩의 출룩 니티 시월 제발라 되네 람지 착제 챔부스 전에 송네 tene nawa lenjikye semni lenjikye ba chögi고 nawa lenjikye ba chögu sedu tene ge cheshu de tene tanda cherol ge yurgi nawa de tamje tene semji nawa yin ba rana yin ba da hakoya de kechen burayes hakosowa ta yoy comment ta tangbu tillavda kaleje dinge tillaw nawa lenjikye ba sem korang ki tene sem korang ngo di chögi고 tene 되게 군족의 나와한테 탐지 추구 나시 대학과야 계신 분레스
근데 시출로 just 시
내루다 출루 니수요레스 근데 지단 신무비기 내루당 대원마시바 출베기 근데 군족의 나와당 근데 된담베기 내루 니수전에 샤네 근데 대학과를 제발라 근데 나와한테 근데 내루디 추구 근데 출루티 추구 임바 학원에 출발되는 거예요.
Up till now, what His Eminence talked about is an attempt to clarify the doubts that we have in our minds, in that whether we are capable of experiencing liberation from sufferings, whether we have that ability, whether we have the ability or the capability to become endowed with the ability to benefit others. Are we, as individuals, resourceful in that sense? And each and every being, sentient being, without exception, equally possess the potential to experience enlightened mind. And the nature of the enlightened mind, or Buddha nature in itself, is never distorted, or never stained by any limitation. And so in this way, beginning to cultivate trust and confidence in ourselves, if only we are able to integrate or apply the necessary means or methods, then there is no question or no doubt about attaining freedom or liberation from sufferings, from obscurations. And with that understanding of our potential, but because of habitual conditionings, one's mind, or one is obscured from experiencing one's enlightened nature. How to undo or unravel the habitual pattern of confusion, the pattern of obscuration. And with regard to addressing that, in the Mahamudra songs of realization by Jamgön Kontrül Lodo Taye, there is a statement in that with regard to, in connection with the Mahamudra, when one views one's mind or looks at one's mind, there is the way in which one can see the nature of one's mind as well as the nature of confusion. How the mind is confused, and that confusion not being the nature of mind. So in that sense, in that the confusion of the mind is seen from the awakened point of view, not separate from the nature of mind, in that the nature of mind is dharmakaya, and the appearance is the luminosity of dharmakaya.
word.
Yes. So, in that way, the luminosity cannot be separated from the emptiness or dharmakaya. It is not separate just as sun and sun's rays.
텐데스 전에 배나 전에 추구던 추구 임바 송아레스 대인도 전에 텔라 때네 전에 양탁백에 단단하나주 샘기 내로암 전에 군시 대월식백이 닝부기 내로대 양탁버를 똑바 배나 대인도 대 똑바를 제발라 tene thangbo tene kunzob ge nawa tenzu sangma ani bana tanda ngaran chugi tu jundu ki tene pa khase gore zinde ba yorba bana te temperature yorre tene te bana losu churba chi khase gore semle losu churba chi ki yuldan yurchen nisun zimba tende chi yorre sambe ki zimba di inji minji tene ti shigu yorre te shig matub na tene 배나 가 대답이 요단 요진 점번이 되네 배나 여바 여 신도라 아니 최 탐제 샘지 나와 있으잖아요 또 고쳐는 또 투고요 또 남녀 투고 말에 좀전 텔라테네 뒤똑바르 세베게 탑라 당보 되네 조부선지 좀된 내게 최 탐제 되네 랑시마루바 동번이 인 배나 뭐 랑시마루 다시 쪼바제다 연수 타워 레스체네 되네 당보 최 탐제 돈이도 때나 팝거든 좀 센데 가르잖아 대답이 송진기 되네 똑바디 시월 제고고 여러 때 시월 마체 그 파르돌라 되네 대월식베기 닝분네로티 뭔도 주르고서나야 빤다 뭔도 주르야지 똑바지 여러 봐 두고요 말이에요
nature of mind or nature of all things being emptiness or dharmakaya, and appearance of all things no other than the rays or luminosity of emptiness, dharmakaya. And so for us,
배나 레 삼베기 출다 배나 출베기 똑바지 여러 봐 인진기 출베 똑바디 시고요 그래서 배나 디스게 여러 봐 다시 쪼바제도 용수 탈세도 배나 율게 나와한테도 상만 매바스게 많아 봐 델라 때네 때네 타데든 진베 니슨 진베 타데기 출베기 똑바디 송진기 출베기 똑바디 때네 시고요 그래서 디 시월 제바디 단다 배나 타데 dunzene yulsinge 소소지다 딘zem베기 셰바스체네 타데 dunzen데게 요르바 디셰고고 요르스 트루베 똑바디 셰버자
So the emptiness and luminosity essentially same or there being no separation, and in order for us to recognize the nature of our mind, when we, for instance, perceive relative reality, generally, when we perceive the relative reality or appearance of phenomena, we come from a point, from a dualistic point of view, in that the subject consciousness or mind having reference point object, and what we perceive in the way of appearance of phenomena and relative reference point, we do not only perceive them, but we cling to our perception as being real, as being true. So there is the clinging to the notion of subject and object. As long as there is the dualistic clinging, then saying dharmas or all phenomena is mind, or everything is but projection of mind, saying that is not making the point, because as far as our actual experience is concerned, it is not so. Mind against object, or with reference point of objects, separate from and being separate and true in itself. And so when we talk about seeing it all as the projection of mind, does not mean that we should not perceive appearances. But our perception of appearance should be liberated of clinging. Only when our experience of perception is liberated of clinging, then are we experiencing everything from the point of the nature of mind.
This one. This indu, then this songs are tapena tandangarancho, della tene, ane ta tandangarancho sanjeki sungbeki, then lam, then number not so kandechi, then but it's tenzu sangma, then pena kashe, ta lamjerin, but number not so potenze or then tenzu. Tempati, then it had the wiki, then is they were shaping Ningbola, drip rang mashi seati, Shanda, deshi Ningbola, Koranke, rango tong, matong seaki, and a jewel in Devachres. Penakar is some Koranki, Nelu la Kashagi or Sena, some Nelu la, so then pena sem korang ngo tongba number sarwa tene te korang ki rang rigbas tene pena ti sem korang ne surti shagi yoba sonza tene rig marik ki thone o ngoshe mashi thone korang ne lu thone mebres yena yang tanda ngoshe mashi thon ma to seya ti tene pena tanda tetabu ki ni sun zembe ki tokba tela tene pena ngarancho marikpa thang tene tan duje sidu tene namdo ta ngaju tsajik la soba tan duje namdo damena mangbuyo re tenzu chene ane tenzuge tene su sorowa duje phungbo ngala daadon zine tene korwe ge ta khasegore tene ta phungbo am ru chembuti tene tel tene yungu yoba sonza te yindu tene de shewar ta lam thamje tene 대답이 가서래 다돈 zemba 예원 zemba 디시월 제바드레스
Different stages of the path or different methods of practice that are presented are in essence to affect unraveling of obscuration from recognizing, from experiencing Buddha nature. When we talk about the nature of mind, or in terms of what is the characteristics of the nature of mind, nature of mind is characterized by emptiness and unobstructed clarity or luminosity and self-awareness. And the Buddha nature recognizing, in some sense, Buddha nature recognizing itself. And not in the sense, in the conventional sense of there being something which is aware of something or which recognizes something, but from the point of view of self-liberation from obscuration. And so the reason for not experiencing the nature of mind, which is characterized by these qualities, is the root cause of it is the habitual pattern of clinging and the various aspects of clinging. And clinging to the 5 skandhas and identifying them, clinging to them as one entity.
베네탕아란 수 디슬랍다 풍보 당원배 나는 시에바 이나 다튼주 풍보 nga 겐체 중니 세야 소레 단테네 다가는 신게 감 접게 다튼주 다 테네 다가는 신게 테네 단당아란 수 갈사 왕보 nga 넘버 시에바 nga라 소베게다 테네 다가는 시율 nga 더 nga 스체네 다 텐데게 테네 가서 오래 다 진도단 젠바디 용고요레스.
For instance, in the Abhidharma, we talk about the 5 skandhas, or the 12 nidanas, and the 16 kams or elements, 18, and then the 5 sense consciousnesses, 5 sense objects, and so forth, and clinging to them, and as true, as real, and in this way until one's mind is completely liberated of these various aspects of the habit of clinging, in that one's mind is liberated of what is known as the 4 boundaries and 8 complexities altogether, then one's mind is not liberated of the habitual pattern that obscures the true of full unfolding, manifesting of one's inherent nature.
든데스레스 든데스 인도 대답이 대송장 안에 다 송진기 로티 드니 대답이 니순진베 송진기 로티다 잘 고고요레스 드니 송진기 로티 자월 제발라 베나 타직도기 베나 가란 쪽에 드니 낭바산지베 따와 타르토바 동반이 레 세네 대제다 드니 치로르주 율탐제 동반이 레 세네 파 동반이 셈게파 미베 겐다바이나 타직도기 송진기 로라 자월 레 세네 켜고요 말레스 하고서 가르레세나 베나 대답이나 벤 다티 다도 군족게 나와디 코라 동반이가 파 반은 좀 샤밤 냄샤반다부지 책이 여버서 디코라랑 되네 가세고래 짐밤 되네 똑바로 두고요레스 파 냄샤바 딘데스 인도 되네 델라 때네 단 노르나 강고고요레스나 단다 군족게 나왔는데 창마 되네 샘지 나와래 마주바 임바 똑고고요레스 테도 똑바 샘지 나와 샘지 라나 임바 샘지 라나 임바라 때네 되네 순진기 로데 잘 고고요레 마도 되네 동반이 이삼네 파 옌담네 동반이가 파 냄샤바이나 티 말해 베나 티 누구지
So in order for us to liberate ourselves from the habit of clinging, to conceptualize, and since because of whatever intellectual reasons, that since the nature of everything is emptiness, therefore, therefore, it is free from subject and object, the clinging mind and the object that the mind clings onto, because the nature of everything is emptiness. And so if one thus by the virtue of the nature of everything being emptiness, therefore there is no subject, no object, no clinging, and imagining or sort of speculating everything being emptiness, that is not, let alone experiencing, not understanding emptiness. It's just what one is trying to do is trying to cover up everything with emptiness. And in order for one to experience the self-liberation of subject and object and act of clinging, one must understand nothing takes place outside of appearance arising from mind. Nothing takes place outside of arising the arising from one's mind.
Bena tanda ngana tu kunji ranju doji ki chakji molam nal sungyo res. Chakji molam nal kande shi sungyo suna yu la tebe yume sem su tong sungwa re. Sem la tebe seme ngowe tong, ni la tebe ninzin rang sar chol wasar senji nelu tokbar shos chane. Sungwa res. yu la tebe yume sem tong songare ti songde ka songgo yore sena bena chirul ki yul dam chirul ki yul ti korang ge ngo ti bena tongba ni ge pa ka ne 하고 송아 주바 요 마레스 제니 bena di chebe ninjing ge zambal chowa mares yul la tebe yume sem yu korang ti bena rangshi ma chu bar re yina ya na ba na so so na wa ti semji number mangabala tene nawa yimbati hakowachi hakosunga and semla te sonza semji bena semsu tongsu de semji nawa yimba hakowa semla tebe semengo tongsu de sem korang ngo la tebe and sem senen this senen meba sem korang ngo tongbal tene tene sem korang giran shima jube ngo tongba ni la tebe tene tetabe gu yu 마주바 샘수통 샘코랑 ngoran시 마주바 티니라 테발라 테네 테네 율탕 텐 zem베게 셰바 테네 니스 메바 조와 텔라 테네 닌진스 그란서 조스 딱바 인스 전에 송아래 어 텐데스 인도 계속 닌지 코나 티 코랑 안에 적 두고 여러마도 동반이게 봐 겐답 까고요 말레스
셈 마주바데는 유 마주바데닐 테네
율티 유 마주바데 칸텐스나 셈게 나체 임바체 셈 코랑 어데 란시 마주바 임바체 딜라 테네 테네 닌지데라서 조고고 여러마도 동반이게 봐 겐뎀네 까봐 마임바 그래서
in order for us to experience freedom from dualistic clinging or from the what obscures the nature of one's mind, simply agreeing and thus sort of ornamenting or covering everything with the notion of everything being emptiness,
대당 되네 치로기 유르기 넘버 상만 빠짜와네 매번 간 거야 시고 같은데 많이 봐.
so trying to cover up everything with the notion, agreeing that everything is emptiness, is not contributing towards the realization of emptiness. And nor by negating, by obstructing appearance and negating appearance altogether, do we experience an emptiness or nature of mind. Nor do we experience freedom from dualistic clinging by negating, saying that dualistic clinging doesn't exist. Understanding how nothing, whatever arises, takes place outside of mind. Nothing takes place separate from the play of the nature of mind. And so in that connection, in the Mahamudra prayer by the third Karmapa, Rangjung Dorje, said, when one look as object, phenomena, object, and object lacks existence, and then one sees it as the projection of mind.
This is majuba sedu meba kaya meba jingdowa yalgoba tabu mayimba semgi nawayimba hakowa tela yula meba sigiyores.
So object lacks true existence, again not meaning that things sort of dissipate, things become dissipated, or that perception of phenomena disappears. It means that it is no other than the projections of mind. There is nothing that is objective reality that is separate from projection of mind. So you see it as mind. Object lacking true existence and only existing as far as projection of mind. So coming to mind in that sense. And then looking at mind, mind lacks true existence. That there isn't mind that one can, the existence of which one can establish or nail down. And nature of mind, essence of mind, is emptiness. And looking at, so mind lacks true existence. Nature of mind is emptiness. And object even more so, because there are only projections of mind. Looking at both, then object exists only as far as projections of mind, therefore lacks true existence. Mind lacks true existence because nature of mind is emptiness, and therefore clinging lacks true existence. In this way, looking at both, one sees or experiences the self-liberation of clinging.
Tendesne ninzirang salto cholne chowas tene sungbares. Tendesi indu te sonza ta dona ngaranzu ninzin le chol. Seati 타직도 가야 매봐 하고송아 까샤바 지단 가야 매봐 단도 군조 치료게 나왔는데 상마 까샤바 마이바 간도 그거여랬으나 배나 단다 나랑 좀 나신바디 코랑게 어디 라신 마주바 동바이바 동바이바 가이바디 넘버 망가바 나도 예베키 근데 나도 송도 주베게 라신디다 나랑 또 그거여랬어 나도 송도 주바디 가레스나 샘 코랑게 다 오암 신이 대월시고 닝부 코랑게 어디 데레 데똑바디 라 근데 인진에 좋았으네 세게여랬어 데마도 타직도 배나다 파 동바니 시대나 파바이나 하고송아 근데 배나 사라하바 숭바레 노브른 짐바 사라하 좁진 사라하 숭바레 노브른 짐바 축단다와데스 제당 그 노브른 짐바티 다 출발해스 근데 노면 짐바 대외장내 룬스데 근데 노브른 짐바티 출발해데 노면 짐바티 대외장내 룬송바레 가라스나 노브른 짐바티 노면을 때네 ngöbu shemba do to gyor yena ya ngöme le shemba de ngöbun zembala do ya de shada ge tewe jang ge shadang ge tone ka le kha ga yor de sonza de la de ne tewe jang ne luns chen song ba yin du do na ta
ngömen zembati tenjin chane de jang
tewe jang ne lun ba yin song ba de de yin du de sonza ta ngaran soge 단다 간 도 구 열었으나 낭도 니스 매베 그런 시도 또 구 열었어
So, His Eminence would like to emphasize this further. In our understanding of freedom from dualistic clinging or self-liberation from dualistic clinging, that this must not be misunderstood as saying that things don't exist. The appearance, it is not negation or obstruction of appearances, arising of phenomena. It is not at all saying relative reality or appearance is wrong and wrong to exist, wrong to appear. And the nature of everything is emptiness. Everything lacks true inherent independent existence. Everything lacks. And because of nature of everything being emptiness, there is the openness, the vastness of possibilities of arising of phenomena, arising of appearance. And nature of everything being emptiness, no clinging, free from clinging, free from having a real inherent existence. And the arising of phenomena, appearance, could at all take place because of their nature being emptiness. So, to say one experience of freedom from dualistic clinging is to experience inseparability of emptiness and appearance. While appearing, yet emptiness. While emptiness, yet can appear, can arise. And that not in contradiction with each other or not obstructing each other. While it's emptiness, it can appear, arising. While it's appearance manifesting, nature is emptiness. One is not sort of obstructing the other. So, to think of emptiness as things having disappeared, there's nothing to perceive, no play of appearances, and that would be very serious misunderstanding of emptiness. Emptiness from sort of nothingness whatsoever point of view. So again, in connection with this great Mahasiddha Saraha had said, the conceptually clinging to things as existing material.
Tin zimbares. Yubar zimbares. Yena yang women zimbade tele tamsres.
So, clinging to things as existing is confusion. And clinging to things as not existing is even greater confusion. And or greater foolishness. And so, appearance and emptiness inseparable, seeing or realizing the inseparability of appearance and emptiness is not different from experience or recognition of Buddha nature.
This on the tendency into Jumsen tell a tene, Benanget and the Kazan Tangbu Kapsusheva Tirades. Tene Kasegore, Tandangaran Sugan, Namba Sanji Beke, Tene Tawam, Tongbani, Seati, Jik Kasegore, Jikbatang, Jik Kasegore, Jik Tende Chuna, Tende Yungur, Samba Sam Jemaiba, Korangi, Mubuganeluti, Kaimba the Guyores. This on the Indu, Tit Nyamsu Drubeg capsula, Tenzu Tangma Paka Goyaji, the two Drub Goyaji, Benacorang, Shingubu Tonizawani in the Yomades. Yenayang, Lamla, Ta, Benagewa, Drub Digbapangoya, Jumse the Kandasena, Telan Zimbeg, Nubore, Numere, Sambeg, and Zimbeg, Taxi, and a Landoram, Taxi, Nis and Zimbeg, Lottie Janweg, Chirtula Temper and Mato, turn Tambeg and Nelu, Tamjel, Chavi, so Telan Juratangoyas in Namia Yomades. Hakosoma?
As His Eminence had mentioned in the very beginning, in Buddhism, the proper view is important. And the proper view is not intellectualizing certain possibilities and putting those intellectualized possibilities together and holding on to that as a view based on some intellectual exercise accumulations, and then putting it together, having a view based on that. And that is not the view in Buddhism. In Buddhism, the view is understanding, seeing phenomena, existence, whatever, as they are. Seeing as they are, knowing as they are, is the view, is the proper view.
This is the concept of Sana, and a Koran Devorship being one, Semji Nelu Tiki, Tamji, Shingo Benel, Tamjal Machabameva.
Which is another way of saying, essence of mind or Buddha nature, there's nothing that does not pervade, that is not pervaded by Buddha nature. And there is nothing that by their nature is separate, different from Buddha nature. So, when we talk about a view, it is not creating or forming of a view. It is simply,
예바데 매바소 매바데 예바서바다고 많이 봐.
it is not a view of the getting rid of what is true, what exists, and or the bringing in what isn't. It's not negating of what is, nor approving of what isn't. It's simply seeing, understanding things as they are, without imposing a view on it which is counter to the way things are. So, the ground of the view is established in this way. It is not saying anything different or new from what things are fundamentally. But when we begin to work with the path, then based on the habit of conventional conditionings, the conceptual clingings, the way we cling and view, because of the habitual conditionings of mind, then in order to undo the habitual patterns of mind, then doing of what is virtuous or wholesome, taking upon, and abandoning or getting rid of what is unwholesome is necessary based on the level, based on the way one's mind presently can operate. But as far as the essential nature of one's mind is concerned, there is no need to do what is wholesome. There is no unwholesomeness that is needed to be purified of or discarded.
Oh yeah, that joy best.
Maybe we can have questions, please.
One is the notion of, I believe it's unobstructed arising. I don't have a clear image of what that means and its importance in the whole construction here. And then there was a major point made of confusion. Ignorance doesn't end, there's no beginning, no end, because it has no independent existence. But suffering does end. And that's a confusion as to what is the nature of suffering is differentiated from ignorance and confusion, that it can have a beginning and end. What is its existence?
다听过别学识동안. 당부터 가인 거. 망가 봤어야 돼, 봐.
가면 싫어.
나도 수차렸어야 돼.
티티니 강 티다 그런 셈래야 간단히 듣고 있나 티 세시지.
배나 남방 강매도 차렸어야 돼 가능성이 어렸으나 테레스 benata sem korangi nilu ndabuji chashabayina sem korangi nilu ti benata sem sene tuksta yondu ane sem korangi ngol tuksta yondu sem singede ndere samne ane kaya tene ngun zinsa chikta mebashin dongas de korangi sem ki ngo imbares rangshima rupade imbares yena yang tene me shindola tene bena kaya ya hakoto bachi dongas ndere samyati te kala tene yungu yorasana sem tiki ngo namba mangabal tene yungu yores hakosonga namba nasosu chardurunga tistegi yores bena zawekti tene te yindu sem gnelo te yimbal ten dumsen tela tene tene namba da menda ta bena kanga charge yores tistegi yores tanda ngune
Kovatliya, kojitlaga goyo maris. Sim kitani.
Sayin ngorangshi matub shindula bena ta sem singede me ngoshi tangbu mashina sem suksta yondu kaya me bashi donga yina yang ti me shindula kaya na ndere sambaji hakoto baji korangi jik nyubashi donga oti 당문에 샘기 ngotrere dati
With regard to the nature of mind, even if one doesn't have an experience of nature of one's mind, simply if you make an attempt to look at your mind and you couldn't grasp and you couldn't say, this is mind, here is mind. That it is not anything that you can grasp.
yebda kadoda namba ndere semna meba
So, looking at your mind, you couldn't say, this is my mind, this is mind. This is the shape of mind. This is the color of mind. This is where mind is.
bena ta 당부도 슬랍다 bena semse야데 간등간도 강한 원진 거스나 다들 남도 언데 코라나 sem세스 텔레 로스 주바지 그 sem세데 당부 원진 사요 말레스
First of all, when we talk about mind, what we recognize as mind, what we think of as mind is no other than thought.
단데기 셰바 소마 남도 테라레스
The right now moment, that moment to moment arising of thought.
데 코라라는 sem스타게요레스 데라
And so, to the moment to moment arising of thought, we label it mind.
데네 데 코라라 따 연드 캐난게 데라 이앱단 카도다 남바텐스 간가 통구도게스 남도인데
So, thought is mind, And when you look at thought arising, which is mind, then shape, color, possibility of grasping, free of all of those. And so that there isn't any kind of reference point that one can nail down that is mind.
Those are the obstructions. You say unobstructed.
So there is no mind that you can say this.
데라랑신 똥바스게요레
So that is nature of emptiness. Nature of emptiness. Yet, so you look around, you search, whatever, and there is no mind that you can grasp, no mind that you can nail down. And that is what is referred to as nature emptiness. Yet, while can't grasp, can't nail down, can't say this is mind, yet there is knowingness.
베나 남도 생에데 가도면도 남면도 성매시도 왔어. 매신도라. 하고도 하지.
There is knowingness. Knowingness in that one who knows there is no color. Knowing that there is no color, knowing that there is no shape. There's knowingness. And yet, when you look at what knows, can't grasp, can't pinpoint. And so emptiness, nature of mind, yet this, because you understand that the mind, this nature of mind is emptiness, this does not obstruct knowingness. Yet constantly,
아니, 뒷간을 탄도 되니 독스전에 매버 찍라 되니 배는 하고 하시도 왔어. This time 되니 다 하고와 디 코랄 때다 하공해지다 고주신이 인도게 되다스. 되니스 매버티 문에 샘진에 로트 테레스. 다 하고 터는데 자기신 부스 테레스. 딱 옷이에 토마토 테레스.
And so you look at this knower, and which knows that there's no shape, no color, no this, no that. That is mind. And there is that knowing. But when you look at this knowing or the knower, then there is no knower or no to be known. And if you know this,
문에레스. 되니 텔레 로스 주바지기 착지신 부스 칸야요 말레스. 이게 그냥 착진 거를 빼면지 제샤이스.
that is Mahamudra. If you recognize it, it is Mahamudra. His Eminence saying he's giving you Mahamudra instruction. If you know it, and so
아스 테레스. 아니.
nah.
대 그냥 디삼도 안다 되니 하고 그래스.
So if you reflect or contemplate on this, and because of the emptiness nature of mind, that doesn't obstruct knowingness, and because of that, all kinds of mental appearances arise. That this mental appearance, unceasing, unobstructed mental appearances arising, yet and that is not counter to the nature of mind.
되니 찍드 가는 거다.
찍디 나 되니
다 동안 그 윤체 고스레 말해. 그럼 믹스 고스레. 되니
찍들은 진짜 그 트라이어 되니 간스나 짐발이야 타요드네 깨져요 말이스 초밥 저는 짐발라서 되니 토마 메시지 티 되니 관
네.
되니
네.
간소리
타마도 안 된바. 다 너든 딜랍다.
이는 되니 되니 어느 동네 그런 신티 초배 그런 신들 텔레 간소로 만다와 되니 동네 그런 신들 간데 이나스 되니 동네 텔레야 되니 주바요 되니
동알 대 출발을 했으면 출발 말이스. 동알 그 육군중도 대 출발 짜와드레스. 동알 대 군중 출발은 제거레스.
다들 지소는
어쨌든 되도. 대손자 인도 대손자 되네 출발에 쳐나 동알은 신기 조 신도 그래마도 믹스에게 동알 배나 가스 가요. 그거요 말이스.
가는 건 동아대
동알티 배나 동알 코란 출발에 다 동알 코란 출발에 베스트 센스가 여러봐. 배나 문에 동알 코란한테 출발 말이스. 대자다 동알도 동알이 주스제 니시에 놓았어.
Firstly, experience of suffering. Suffering in itself is not confusion.
배나 동al 셰브르지 동al 주 방어 차송을 봤어. 군중.
This is in the teachings of the Buddha. One must know suffering, and one must eliminate the cause or the sources of suffering. So, the cause of suffering or the root of suffering is confusion, which is dualistic clinging. And if you are self-liberated of dualistic clinging as far as your experience, and then suffering is the result of such patterns of mind, then suffering is simultaneously or quite automatically uprooted, liberated of.
Yeah.
I have a question about the path. Your Eminence said in order to do habitual balance of mind, one has to perform some action. And this will eventually lead to self-liberation of clinging. I don't grasp the connection between doing some action and self-liberation.
배나 당부 가르레스나 테레스. 단당 안한소 단다 니순 짐베케 다 마릭발라 테네 테네 레다 뇽몬바이케 톱케 테네 간체네 테네 박차데 미게베 박차데 슉체와요 레스. 대인도 대 박차데 셰워 제발라 하고서 당부 박차데 단다 박차 코란 배도 논주로 인도 슉체바 인발 때 박차데 시고 박차게 셰워 제발라 박차게 님보도 박차게 박차데 땡고요 레스. 때네 타르도 때네 박차 배나 양타 게와 당 미게웨 그 박차 니레 좋아디 용고요 레스. 다티 배나 티체네 박차 미게웨 박차 논주르데 마자네 때네 렘지게 때네 쌈되는 냠는다 텐도 제발라 때네 때랑로든 주고요 알았어. 단다 띵원도 줄때도 많이 웅년보던 건네 맞음도 팽기요 말에.
단다 하고 좀 기대.
팽기요 말했어.
Because of our confusion or ignorance, we have, or one has developed very strong habitual patterns, long-standing history of habitual patterns. And so, which is to say, stronger patterns, stronger habit of unwholesome actions, unwholesome attitudes of mind. And even if one, to some degree, understand intellectually how the essence or the nature of one's mind is, not obscured or free from being affected by such habitual patterns, yet it's not our experience. Our experience is very much from dualistic, from clinging point of view, referential realities. And so, wholesome or virtuous action is more in the line with or complement towards unfolding the nature of one's mind. So, in order to diminish, loosen, whatever, of habit, unwholesome habit of mind, then we need to develop wholesome habits of mind. We can't immediately recognize if there is no stopping, but based on our preoccupations, based on our conceptual patterns, we simply cannot experience.
Tendis re, teni tela, teni chetan di tab res. Teni tab tela, teni tikpa chenbyu ki semje tang, teni tela teni tongpa nyi ki zi sen yondu. Teni pena gewe ki pakcha tokpa ti korang yang pakcha le chortoba yungu yo res.
So, what is practical is let's cultivate wholesome habits. And given that one is following the path with the proper view, then eventually one, having accumulated whatever wholesome habit and seeing through wholesome habit, and for instance, following the Mahayana path, developing the proper motivation, the proper aspiration of mind, joined with one's understanding and whatever experience of the view, emptiness. So the aspiration or the intention joined by the view and seeing through wholesome habits too, and becoming liberated of not only unwholesome habits but wholesome habits altogether. And so, or thus being able to having the insight to look at the nature of one's mind affecting self-liberation of all habits.
Your Eminence, I've been thinking again and again, trying to understand the inseparability of samsara and nirvana. Thinking if I ask this question, this will get at it. If I ask that question, that'll get at it. So this is the question I came up with. From the Buddha nature view, is the interdependent arising of the appearance of the phenomena I understand that that's the inseparability of luminosity and emptiness from the Buddha nature point of view. Is that saying the same thing as it's the co-emergence of samsara and nirvana, or is there a difference between the sentiments and the
This to do some key, there was a winning booty.
콘데니 예메시 됐다.
하고서.
고문도스 됐다 동 칸데 예메. teni semki teni tanda sabdong sra. Da shi bin ba ran sin teni sabdong songju. Siju tedang sra. Teni korwa da nyani teni lenje sana chi bareves.
다 된다 테레스. 당부를 kenang에 써야 되라. 코로와 당 근데 냥엘렌데바 니 소소 로스 샤네 데니 숭 니스메 바스잖아요. 데마레스. 아고송아 단다 찍테레. 데케랑게 코와 생에지 유여발라 차샤. 냥엘렌데바 생에지 코와를 로스 유여바질 차샤네 니 소소 샤네 데니 스메 바토스나 데니 캐랑 단다 세바티네 시우레스. 데니 단다 코와 당 냥엘렌데바 세야티 니스메바 세야데 콘데 니스메바 세야티 대답이 사동 순주 같은 또 마도를 때네 콘데 니기 타니기 다체와 점지 마도 된탐발라 콘데 니 소스 메바텔라 된테스게요 그래서 타니기 다자
if one has the idea that there is samsara
예배 차르샤.
exists, you acknowledge samsara exists, and you believe or acknowledge in the existence of samsara, and you believe in the existence of nirvana outside of samsara. And then, now, the two existing separately, samsara exists and nirvana also exists. And outside of samsara,
타찍도게 무수 주바 메네야 셈게 파 똑베다니스 우르바다 또디 테르바스.
or even if they don't exist literally, but in your mind they exist separately. No. In your mind they exist separately, or that is the belief that you have, then even if it's a mental, conceptual belief, then to bring the two together and experience the inseparability, that can never happen. Because when we talk about samsara and nirvana inseparable, it is not at all from that point of view. It is not a belief, or it is not the way things are in samsara and the nirvana. That the way things are is there is no samsara existing somewhere, literally or mentally, and somewhere, and then nirvana somewhere else. When you have realized the inseparability of emptiness and luminosity, yes, as the nature of your mind, that which is the nature of your mind, that realization of inseparability of emptiness and luminosity is not different from the realization of inseparability of samsara and nirvana. And so, right now, when we talk about samsara and nirvana as separate, it is because we have this conceptual pattern. And so that's why we talk about inseparable. Inseparable not because they are separate and having to make them inseparable, but seeing what is inseparable as being separate. So that's why we say nirvana and samsara.
제다다 코와다 냥에는 데버 생기데 밍데스. 너나. 전 담벌라.
So in that way, samsara and the nirvana is simply name, simply label. And
베나가란소 출백이 ngol라 때네 베나 출발라 때네 콘데니 시작이 와레스. 단담라 베나 밍잠지레스. 디스온다 텔라 때네 콘데니 스메 코와 디스게 와레스.
From the confused point of view, from the confusion of dualism point of view, there is a belief in samsara separate from nirvana. But that is not the nature, and it is only as far as clinging to the label, the name samsara, and separate name nirvana, and clinging to two labels as separate, but they don't exist beyond. Nothing exists separate and different beyond label.
This is that neuro. The tuksan 제다 딱 군접 잠둘라 다차다 출 배나 뭐시에 마시 출마를 때는 군접 다 코와다 냥년인데 니 열어 봐 가능스는 코와스도 출베기 차틀라스기 열에 디스기 열에스 냥년인데 무슨 만주베자 더 담발라 원의 차샤나 디니 소소 요 말에 가르레스는 또는 또님을 봐 대자다 명삼절에스 더나 되래
So, from the relative dualistic point of view, yes, there is samsara. There is nirvana. And yet from absolute meaning or absolute truth point of view, the reality and the truth of samsara and the nirvana being separate exist only as far as the name.
So would it be more accurate to say that from the dualistic point of view, you only have samsara because of the nirvana, but from the absolute point of view, instead of saying that they're inseparable, saying that those names don't even apply, doesn't even apply. Instead of talking about them being inseparable, it seems like it would be easy to understand if you said that those concepts are only true in a relative sense.
된다 들어봤어
네,
단단 가라한테 출백의 뭐라 때네 출발라 때네 컨데니스 매버 또 써야지 특점지 여러분 전담도 컨데니스 매버 또 써야지 매봐스
yes, only from the point of view of
컨데니스 매 써야지 코란 띵하나 출백 걸시 여러봐스 전담도 컨데니스 예 매게 탈린데 버려봐스
only from the point of view of confusion that we talk about inseparability of samsara and nirvana. But, so first we see samsara as separate from nirvana, and then we talk about inseparability of samsara and the nirvana. From the point of view of realization, then it's beyond the concept of separation and inseparable, even beyond the concept of it. And from the point of view of the nature of things, is beyond even the concept of realizing. It is only in the mind of conceptual thinking, realization, inseparability.
I'm wondering if his evidence can comment on that if there is no knower and there's nothing to be known, the relationship of this between relationship to insight and skillful means, especially in relationship to the appearance of others.
Appearance of others?
따뜻히 하나 두시스 그나 학공에도 고준이스 매바 게 세계연스 게 세계요만데스 데 레드민도 캐난 떠다 마도 게 세계도 캐난 이제 잠직 팽게요만데스
His Eminence would like to say this to you, that please don't be too trusting. He is not saying there is no knower and nothing to be known. He is not saying this. And so you just don't go by what he says. You examine it yourself. And no.
This 세주디 되네 탑디 칸을 쓰고
되네 도스체는 서로 되네 다 탑다 되네 셔럽니 간데 다 셔럽기 되네 탑 되네 믹스에 되네 다 치 유가 넘발 되네
근데 손자 그냥 될 때다 되네 대 참을래나 탑다 셔럽스체네 그런게 탑시 니스체네 소소 매버레스
나
딕배나 예매 니게 하 공에도 공에 니스 매베 값을 탑다 셔럽 얘기 소소기 타니게 되다 요마레스
다 무슨 되네 틀린다 간 용서면다 징케다 제사
다티 그런 쓰다다 제가 됐음 코랑 그 릭백 차지요 봐. 살만가 봐 릭백 차대. 제가 때네 넘버 나서 차게요 봐. 그런 코멘트 봐.
His
당부
Eminence.
캐나 니수 이메 직도다 사공에.
네, 니.
당부 하고 마고 니라 캐나 셈 코랑 그 오디직 니바체. 대된도 좀 배치다 사공.
So maybe first you might want to just simply look into if there is a knower and there is what is to be known. Maybe you might want to just look at it a little bit. And then if you actually experience the non-referential experience of free from knower and to be known, and the reference point of insight into skillful means also maybe is irrelevant. For the reference point of the notion of insight into skillful means.
데 코랑 라한테 탑신이 있으면 버려스.
나.
하 공에다 고준이 있으면 버려 탑신이 있으면 버려 틀은 건 생각을
Experiencing the non-referential awareness in that free from the notion of knower and to be known in itself is ultimate skillful means and insight, inseparability of wisdom and skillful means.
Your Eminence, I would like to hear more about the relative path of practicing wholesome actions and trying to eliminate unwholesome actions so that we can eliminate the obscurations and the ritual patterns that obscure seeing the nature of mind. And if you could please remind me, what are some of the key wholesome actions that we should remember to do from the relative point of view? Ultimately, if you were enlightened, those would be relevant. From my point of view, I forgot them. What are some key ones to factor in to stay away from?
다소 개체슈드 캐나 쌤나 전시대야 디 다소 들어있어. 조 쌤나 전시대야 디 개체슈드 들어있어. 근데 대딩도라 근데 현변 전주 쌤을 좀 붙이 디시샤네 근데 제야도 개점시다 그래서
What is of principal or main importance is cultivating and maintaining of mindfulness. Mindfulness.
되다 넘버 건드론 러시아 년도 되다 넘버 것도 가두이나야 전시대야 들어.
And mindfulness at all times. Carrying mindfulness, having mindfulness at all times. And whether one is going, whether one is sitting, eating, going to sleep, whatever, and all the time carrying mindfulness, having mindfulness, and along with that, generating the mind of awakening or good-heartedness, bodhicitta. Always mindful of the genuine, heartfelt consideration for the well-being of others.
되게 땡돌라 되네 대단 충백이 쨘바 칸이나야 텔랍규트레스 단도나 배는 바로 드신 거 죽라서 봐.
And with mindfulness and with that kind of intent, the intent of good-heartedness, then action, as far as actions, in accordance with such mindfulness, in mindfulness of mind and intent. So, practicing the
전주선배 쨘발랍규트레스는
bodhisattva conduct, such as the six perfections, through
덥죠. 매 가서 바로 드신 거죠. 나서.
or also known as the 10 perfection of the conduct of the bodhisattvas.
다티 다시 디밍 나부터 테레스 디 되나 게웨 두백 게와 두백 다 배나 또나부터 단득수.
So the key to being able to perform wholesome actions is, as His Eminence has pointed out,
It's almost like samsara is dependent on nirvana, and nirvana is dependent on samsara. Is that wrong?
삼사라. 근데랑
korwatan yangal ten chanyang ne korwatan tende tel ten ya yermeva.
근데랑다 아이스. 근데 니스 메버세야 테랑다 아이스. 대이나 산 계산에 마 고알 템 것으로 봐.
Not exactly, because in that case, then, if you have become enlightened, you could also fall into samsara.
되네 배나 단다
Based
고알
on what you said, in that case, like because you're saying inseparability of samsara and nirvana, does that mean interdependence of samsara and nirvana? He says, if it means interdependent of samsara and nirvana, then if you have attained enlightenment, you could fall back into samsara.
대단 마체 베게 되네 배나 고알라 유심발라 되네 타버 주먹올라라는 신게 덴들 그 왕기 타버 톱고 살아 봤어.
And another one is, if to say samsara and nirvana interdependent, then is saying that without having to practice to become liberated from samsara, because of interdependence, you will be liberated.
But doesn't that mean that you eventually drop the whole notion of both? I mean, ultimately, you just drop it all. You see it all as being one bulk. You sort of embrace it, but you drop it or something. I don't know.
난공알 땡게데 이러고. 난공알 땡게데 이러고. 탭 땡게데. 되네 간사고.
Then 제만 더 털도 더 상마.
말레스 콘데니 야와데 텐데 말레스. 덴들 티 되네 가란도 군접점들라 덴들 레스 마도 턴 담발라. 되네 턴 담베게 네로티 되네 베데 탄 어느 탐제레 되네 네바제르 바스 군접점들 덴들 승아도 제게 요레스. 말베 남남세 이러고.
Relatively, phenomena exist interdependently. And from an absolute point of view, beyond the notion of interdependence.
대손자 콘데니도 텐데 말레스.
So, inseparability of...
다베나 캐란게 군접점지기 차네 하고서 군접점지기 차네 코와 베나 단다 코와 임발라 때는 양엘은 데바다 양엘은 데바 점직 타네 아니 따바레선 되게 요레스 얘나야 던 담바 코랑게 콘데 니스 메세야도 단다 테 말레스.
Just on a very relative level, and
베나 단다 코와 다 양엘은 데바 세야 디요르바 디점지 텐데.
on the relative level, there is the notion of samsara and nirvana, and from samsara to nirvana. And so, that in that way, samsara is dependent, you may say. I mean, you could say things like that. See, samsara is dependent to nirvana.
아니
But-
냥엘렌 데바데 코와.
라.
이 냥엘렌 데바데 코와라 때네 냥엘렌 데바스.
And because there is nirvana, and you also realize the suffering of samsara, and you can apply sort of dependence, but inseparability doesn't imply dependence.
야.
I have a short question. What do you know when you know the nature of emptiness?
Pardon?
What is it that you know when you manifest or you realize this knowingness of emptiness? What is it that you know?
What is it that is known?
No.
What is it that knows?
Knowingness
Mm-hmm.
of emptiness.
Knowingness of emptiness.
Knowingness of emptiness. I'm asking, what is it?
What is knowingness of emptiness?
This knowledge.
Knowingness of emptiness.
나섬 제베 요렌 데바드레스. 나섬 제베 요렌 데바드레스.
Dikharesra.
제가 시그도 나섬 제베 요렌 데바레스. 시그 주 요렌 데바드레스. 문에게 동번이게 된 동번이. 나섬 제메 샤르 파로 친 지산지게 송버레스.
That is beyond any conceptual labeling.
Said to be the same as suchness?
Pardon?
Could it be said to be, is it described as, in the literature, as suchness?
디스드 사신.
데스도 네 가서 데코는니 선나 데네 찍나야 데코는니 신다 데네다 데네
데 데코는이 세야데 밍르바스. 찌그르바스.
나서
데 동번이게 문에 내로 똑같이 말아바스.
and that is also a word, that is not realization.
I have a second question. Sure. Eminence has emphasized the importance of meditation practice on the path for the experience of emptiness. I was wondering what we can do in our meditation to open the experience of emptiness.
당부 전적 셈으로 붙이되 약고 싶고 없어.
Most important is generating good-heartedness, bodhicitta.
대라 때네 탑닝지 첨보로 때네 샤르 동번이 디안타고 또 그랬어.
Through the practice of the skillful means of great compassion, one realizes the wisdom of emptiness.
돈이닝지 순죽 되는데.
And then, that being the experience of inseparability of emptiness and compassion.
Your Eminence, you said that the phenomena are a projection of mind. What about time? We experience time as passing, past, future. What is the nature of time?
셈레스.
네.
셈레.
Not separate from mind.
내 마오 다다 뒤숨디 셈기 책이 요레스. 데네 디마도 베나 뒤sem레스.
Who conceives of time and who conceives of past time, future time, present time.
베나 내 마오 다다 뒤숨을 로스 주바지게 뒤줄지 민도 와스.
There is no time which is outside of past, present, and future. and that this notion of time past, time future, and time present is conceptualized by the mind.
Bena 간데레스나 샘기 나와레 세고베 좀 센데 가르스나 베나 단단가란초 가르 임바데 파르 베나 차샤나 ngöbu 강이나 야 치료지 ngöbu 가르 이나양 코라라랑 그 ngöwe 전에 베나 강반된다고지 이나 강바 인스 전에 베나 ngöbu 코랑 그 토네 ngö인지 시아바다 지다 가요 말레스 데 강바레 삼바데 샘지 딱 바레스 베나 데 강바 마인바지 키 베나 다 현다지 샘지 베나 지단 그 수파 소소글로 다 샤바지 당분에 유나 디체 그래 말이 인지미지 양 강바 쓰다고 좀 재민 동안스 탐제 하고 송아 탐제 르다 샤바지레스 데네 마체 베게 데네 망부 다 tinzu 베드 시션 참아라 봐 가르서 주진 데네 망부 초발라 때네 데네 찍레 삼바지 소소 바 샘지 딱 바라 말 코라라랑 뭐 차네 먼저 초베지다 가요 말 봤어 대찬한테 다 르바 망고시라 그래서
Is holding, having the concept of something as being that particular thing. For instance, the concept of a house. And labeling, through concept, labeling it as house. The concept of house is it's not inherently existent in the one onto which we put on the label. The object in itself doesn't say house. The object in itself doesn't identify itself as house as opposed to whatever.
베나 마체 베 강바 세연도 데 코란 런슈게 ngaran초라 강바 마인바 탐제 파산네 강바 임바도 수주바지 똑바지 요라yes 강바 마인바 탐제 시엔 파산네 강바 레 삼베 수중게 똑바지 요라바스
So, and also when we say house, in itself expresses, it's a conceptual
각룹기 예와치
reality. It only exists as far as a conceptual reality, in that we want to acknowledge something as house at the exclusion of everything else. For our conceptual reality, nothing else can be a house other than... So, it is not the view of the object, it is not the nature of the object, but it is a conceptual label or reality that we attach. And so, we want to, at the exclusion of everything else, we want to cling to this as a house.
베나 딩에라 야 민신다지 따이나 양 팀멤버지 차데 그러와스 딩에라 강바텔라 추더버지 따샤이나 코란 디글로 똑바지 베나 다 당분에 강바레 삼백이 탐제게 강바스가 나랑 강바레 삼백 파셈 근진의 강바스디 팀멤버지를 다 신다 마이메지 강바들 은생게 여러바스 양 예만의 팀멤버지 명이나 호타가란 셈게 판생 셈게 레세야 된다 찍더바스 아니 디토라 아니 디제겐디 레세야 소리다 틀려 먹고 여러스
And so, but before it was given the label house, before it is labeled as house, if there was another label to it, and we think of it as that label, if it was called water at some point, the label that it is given to it is called water, we think of the house as water. because it's label that we
This one
attach to the
is
notion of reality.
대손자인데 코란 유 코란 그 의료 차네 베나 캉바도 추세야티 코란 그 돈이 캐요 말이스 가야요 말이스 다베나 소스 그 생것도 만다는 바스 다 단다 직된 게 코란 용다라 캉바스 타바 손자 캉바스 팅은제인 거요 그래서 대마던 직된 용다라 추스다 샤고이나 그 추란 차대 그래서 얘는 코란 그 요금 의료 차네 캐바면도 딱 강한 거 돈으로 쌤게 근데 추다 캉바스 전에 야와 책이 동안스
For the object, it doesn't matter. You can call the house water, you can call the water house. For the object, it doesn't make a difference. You see. But the general conceptual clinging is on the more unanimous conceptual clinging is that for house and water. Now when we talk about house, then we can't think of water. We think of this some structure that has been put together. See? And then when we talk about water, then you can think of this. It's because of the reality that we have attached to the label. But the label the label is not what we cling to as it is.
Tene tendesres. Tene öbür çane şabeyna kora düze kendi öğretin çigre tu sambata samkısın gıyor bas.
So, in general, whatever object it is, then it is only the mind that clings to it as being such and such. There is a conceptual reality, but that does not hold true of what object is. No. And then another way of looking at it is whatever it is, anything that appears to be a separate entity, we know is not a separate independent entity on its own. It is the coming together of the components of all kinds of particles and put together or coming together of it is labeled as such an object. Or the mind clinging to it as one rather than, many put together, which each and every of those things that are put together in itself have no independent existence.
어떤데스 전에 뒤뜻이 다 시라를 거 망부르스. 하나스다 믹스에게 세마다 우메나를 시라를 거 망부여르스. 세마당 우메나라 텐데 돈을 거 망부여르스.
So in the Madhyamika, through the study of the Madhyamika and then the logic, then there's a number of the intellectual study that involves intellectual study or the analytical study concerning how the phenomena exist only as far as projection of mind. All right, last question, please.
I have a very hard time understanding the way in which, even a dualistic point of view, the path leading from mono to a non-dualistic point of view, why good actions are the ones that lead there as opposed to bad actions? Why virtuous actions and not any actions?
대 자외 기태를 봤어. 단단 가란투 드니 코 베나 짐바스야 디 드니 가세고레 다 마릭바 코랑키 왕키 스톱라 때네 다 니링 착당기 뇨몽베키 똑베키 되니 왕도 간 교르바텔라 되니 티송잔 될 때네 되니 다가서 오래 박차 되니 단다 착당기 박차한테 숙체를 처런로야 대책이 열어봤어 대 인도 되니 계획이 된도 제단계다 변화 셴베 시안의 펜버주바 당 변화 제단으로 부게와 있는 수박곰바 당 된지다 간에서는 디기니 뭐 인도 되니 대답이 박차듯이 시월 제베 인바 손도 될 때는 로 열어봤다 말베 그렇죠 들어봐
대 야가 된지민지 제고 주도가 됐든
제단 야가 됐든 안한테 야가 세고 좀 돼서 간에서 변화 제단으로 부지 있는 시안의 네버리 수박곰바 인도티 시안의 네버티 자와도 도고 열어봐
When we talk about wholesome and unwholesome actions, generally, of course, we talk about what is harmful to yourself and harmful to others, and is unwholesome actions. What is beneficial to one or to others is wholesome actions. So, from that point of view, out of confusion or ignorance, one has dualistic clinging, and because of that, there is constant experience of aversion and attachment. And these patterns of the mind, conflicting patterns of the mind, indulging in them, and more and more, one's mind more and more fed by such patterns of mind, obviously only causes one more sufferings, causes more suffering for others. And not only such actions are counter to the potential nature of our mind, but as far as our relative experience is concerned, the pain and the suffering is counter to, and the happiness or the freedom from such. So then, for instance, another is, while we cannot immediately, because of the strong pattern of dualistic clinging, while we cannot immediately recognize non-dual state of mind, yet it is clear that if mind is constantly afflicted by aggression, and the antidote for aggression is patience. And so that we have stronger, it is quite clear, we have stronger habit of aggression and no habit of patience, or little habit of patience. For instance, anger or aggression could become very easily angry, very easily aggressive. But to have patience, certain amount of effort, certain amount of focus involved. And because of a habit of dualistic clinging, that this particular pattern of mind is very strong. So, the antidote for unwholesome or harmful habits of mind, destructive and harmful habits of mind, then wholesome habits of mind in that sense. And then benefiting others, the development of patience is complement, again, while it is still reference point related, yet it is more in connection with the nature of one's mind. The nature of one's mind being inherently beneficial. So, developing the wholesome habit as antidote for unwholesome habit, that brings one closer to recognizing inherent, all-benefiting nature of one's mind. But eventually, as far as the nature of mind is concerned, being free from habits altogether.
solamente